said that we would start just shortly after 9. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning and welcome to the first OmniRide Hispanic Council meeting. We are so happy that you could all join us. The first thing I wanted to mention is that today's call is being recorded. And the second thing I'll mention is that if anyone needs oral interpretation translation services during this call, please virtually raise your hand or let us know in the chat. We do have a translator on the call with us today. Her name is Suzanne Alvarez Prisgoda, and I'm going to let her say a few words.
Thank you, Holly. Buenos días y bienvenidos a todos a la primera reunión del Consejo Hispano de OmniRide. Estamos muy contentos de que puedan estar con nosotros y lo primero que quiero dejarles saber a todos es que la llamada de hoy será grabada. Segundo, quisiera saber si hay alguien que esté participando en esta llamada que necesite los servicios de interpretación o traducción durante la llamada del inglés al español o del español al inglés. Si es así, por favor, levante su mano virtualmente o déjenos saber en la parte del chat. Tenemos una intérprete traductora en esta llamada con nosotros hoy, Suzanne Álvarez Prisgoda. Bienvenidos a todos. Welcome, everyone. Holly.
Okay, thank you so much, Suzanne. I'll take a quick minute to introduce myself and my co-presenters, and then we'll get right into the presentation. My name is Holly Morello, and I'm the TDM Program Manager at OmniRide. TDM stands for Transportation Demand Management, which is the science behind getting single occupancy vehicles, which means cars with just one person, off the road through the promotion of bus, rail, carpools, and van pools. Also on the call is Perrin Palestrant. He's OmniRide's Director of Planning and Operations, and Joe Stainsby, our Chief Development Officer. And I'm going to Joe to say a few words.
Yes, thank you, Holly. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me fine. I just want to thank everybody for participating in this and thank all the effort that Holly's put into pulling this together. This is a very big thing for us. We have been tasked through our strategic plan, our long-range planning, to come up with numerous different councils to help with our community engagement, and so that we can garner feedback, from the community and recognize that all of the best ideas for moving Prince William County, Manassas and Manassas Park into the future are not necessarily always going to come from the top. And so part of that civic engagement is to set up these councils. This is the inaugural meeting of the Hispanic Council. We have had a employer council that is also set up and meets periodically, and we have a van pool council, which is set up through the program Van Pool Alliance that OmniRide is the jurisdictional home for, that has been meeting for several years. That's probably the best example of why we have these councils. It is to garner feedback from the community, and then ultimately with a view towards influencing policy, particularly on with the example of the van pool side. There are regional grants that are available through toll payers. It's called commuter choice funding. And we have actually made 2 commuter choice applications for funding, one of which has been approved and one of which is still pending. The ideas for which came from that Van Pool Council, right? So, in terms of where we're looking to go with this Hispanic Council, that's a perfect example. It's an excellent way on an annual or semi-annual basis to garner feedback from people in the community, to give them an overview of our services, to get their feedback on issues, and then where we do have those opportunities to make changes in our service, to add overlays and to do different complementary things, we can do that. And those applications, those things that we do, are only given more credence, more relevance by the fact that we have been consulting with the community on those things. So I thank everybody for that. The other aspect of this is to kind of help, raise awareness of different aspects of the community, to our board and to elected officials. The Hispanic community, according to the last census, is just under 25% of the population of Prince William County. And we are doing the reach out to this, the largest minority in Prince William County, and we will continue to do that as we go forward. We are looking to not just fulfill our Title VI obligations, but to to move beyond that and kind of engage all levels of the community. And it just made sense for us to start with, you know, the largest foreign speaking segment of the population in Prince William County. You know, of the 100% of people who speak a different language other than English at home, you know, 68% of them speak Spanish. And then after that, it's Vietnamese and Korean. And I am sure that as time goes by, we will get down to those areas, but it just from the sense of aggregating and covering the largest amount of people. That's why we're starting here with the Hispanic Council. So I sincerely appreciate everybody taking the time out of their crazy schedules to join us today. You know, hopefully as we go forward, these events will be in person. You know, just to illustrate that, there are several of us who are actually in the same place in terms of in the same building, but we are all in separate locations. And so this is just one of those things that that COVID has forced us to do. So again, I appreciate everybody. And I'm going to hand over to Perrin Palstrand, our Director of Operations and Operations Planning, for his brief intro, and then he's going to walk us through the meat of the actual content that we will be providing. And I sincerely hope that after that we can have a robust discussion, because really working with you guys and getting your feedback and your comments on things is really what this is all about, because we can certainly exchange our opinions outside of a council. So thank you very much, everyone. Perrin?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Joe and Holly, for that wonderful introduction. I really appreciate the time to be able to present this to everybody. Again, I'm Perrin Palstrand. I'm the Director of Operations and Operations Planning at OmniRide. I oversee the planning and scheduling department, as well as customer service, and I do contract oversight. Next slide, please. I'm going to go through all of the services that we have on both the western and the eastern side of the county. So to start with our western local service, we have 3 bus routes. We just recently revamped all of the western local bus service in December 2019. We used to have 4 routes, some that just went in circles and some that caused connections to be made in other locations, but we totally restructured the entire service. So we have a Manassas North service that connects downtown Manassas to Nova. We have Manassas South that connects the Georgetown South area over to Liberia Avenue, the Manassas Park service, and then we have 2 Metro Express routes in western Prince William County, one from Manassas to Tysons and one from the Linton Hall corridor to Tysons. Just a brief overview of each of these routes. We put a numbering system to our western local services, and what we'd like to do is eventually apply this to our eastern services. So our Manassas North service is called the Route 65. It operates from the Prince William County Courthouse in downtown Manassas. It serves several different things along its route. It serves the Novant Hospital off of Sudley. It serves the Manassas Mall area. We go back into off of Iron Gate into the Westgate area, also connecting directly with the Nova Manassas campus north of I-66. Our Route 67 route is our Manassas South route. This one connects also with that downtown Manassas, serves the heavy residential along Grant Avenue in Georgetown South, heads east along the Wellington Hastings corridor over to Liberia, which is where we have the Walmart, the Harris, a lot of different retail and Battery Heights apartments that are over there off of Liberia also. So we serve a mix of residential and retail along Liberia, and then we make our way over into Manassas Park. We serve Park Place apartments as well as the Manassas Park VRE station. Our Route 68 is our Manassas Park route. This one is mainly a neighborhood route that connects downtown Manassas to the Manassas Park VRE. But what's unique about this is the heavier residential area along Liberia Avenue, the Lowman area, and then over to the Manassas Park Community Center to be able to give direct access for those in downtown Manassas and Manassas Park into the community center, as well as connecting with our other routes at the Prince William County hub. Next slide, please. This is an aerial view of where our hub is. It's just on the west of the courthouse. We like this area because it's a very centralized location that not only connects in with the courthouse, which has a lot of destinations unto itself, but the Social Security office is over there. There's a short walk to Manassas City Hall, the Manassas Park VRE, and a lot of the residential that's being developed in the area there too. So we felt that it was very important to focus our hub on downtown Manassas as it's continuing its redevelopment, and we want to be part of that and be able to provide close access in the walkability, increasing the walkability and having our services center in that area as well. Next slide, please. One thing that's unique also about our Western service is we're piloting a paratransit service. In the past, all of our local bus service, including what we're continuing to do on the Eastern side, conducted what was called off-route deviation trips. So it was your regular fixed route trip that would then deviate 3/4 of a mile off route to fulfill our ADA obligations. However, we wanted to split that so our Western local services would operate as your traditional fixed route, similar to what you see in Fairfax County or Arlington or Washington, D.C., and then overlay that with a paratransit service, very similar to Metro Access that you've seen if you've seen the red, white, and blue vans in the D.C. area. We now have this on our Western side, and it's continuing to do very well. And then as we look at restructuring our Eastern side, something similar to this could also follow along with it. This is our paratransit service area. It shows the three local routes that we operate in Manassas, along with the area of where it serves within 3/4 of a mile. Now, as routes change in the future, possibly, then that also could change the boundaries as well. But this is what the boundary of the paratransit service area is based on the current local service in Western Prince William County. We also have a route that connects both Manassas and Woodbridge with each other. It's called the East-West Express, or the Route 96. And this provides a fast connection from the downtown hub in Manassas along Prince William County, with a few stops at the McCourt Building, around Hillendale and Prince William Parkway, near Potomac Mills Mall, and then at the OmniRide Transit Center, where passengers can then connect with the Eastern local services as well. We also have our Manassas Metro Express that operates in your traditional peak times. In the morning, it goes from downtown Manassas up Sudley Road to I-66 to the Tysons area. And then in the evening, it takes people back. Next. And then we have our commuter bus services also that we operate. We operate several different routes throughout Western Prince William County. From our new University commuter lot right off of I-66 and US 29, we have our Gainesville to Pentagon Navy Yard service. This route is funded by our commuter choice partners inside the Beltway funding. At the Cushing lot, we have our Gainesville to downtown Washington service, as well as our Gainesville to Tysons Metro, which is our Lytton Hall Metro Express. We also have a relatively new route from Haymarket at the intersection of Heathcote Boulevard and US 15. We have a nice new commuter lot, and we have a route that runs from the Haymarket lot there into the Roslyn-Ballston corridor, which connects in with the Metro Rail system, as well as a number of employment activity that takes place in the Roslyn-Ballston corridor. From the Portsmouth commuter lot, we have two commuter routes. One is the Manassas to Pentagon route, and the other is our Manassas to downtown DC route. Now on our eastern side, we have 4 local routes and 1 Metro Express route. We have a Dale City route, a Woodbridge Lake Ridge route, a Dumfries route, and one that operates along the Route 1 corridor. And then we have 1 Metro Express route that runs from the OmniRide Transit Center and Potomac Mills Mall to the Franconia Springfield Metro Station. Our Dale City local service operates from the Chin Center to the OmniRide Transit Center. It serves many different locations along its route. It serves the McCourt Building, and then along Hoadley Road, we serve the shopping center right at Hoadley and Prince William Parkway. We serve another shopping center at the intersection of Hoadley and Dale Boulevard. And then we serve the numerous residential and retail establishments along Dale Boulevard, all the way from Hoadley until it gets to Gideon, and it heads up to the transit center where there's connectivity to the other routes that we operate. We have our Woodbridge local route. This is a loop. We have a loop A and a loop B. So essentially it's the same route. It just doubles back on itself as two different routes. But this one also serves OmniRide Transit Center, the mall, Potomac Mills Mall, Smoketown Plaza, Virginia Employment Center, Woodbridge VRE. There's just a number of residential and retail establishments that we serve through the whole Route 1 and Old Bridge corridors, and then expanding on the connectivity that it provides in the Eastern Corridor. Our Dumfries local route operates from Fuller Heights Road at the south end, right near the Quantico Marine Base, and then to the Transit Center. We serve a lot of the heavy residential along Old Triangle Road in Dumfries, as well as the entire Route 1 corridor between essentially Neabsco Mills Road and the River Heritage, River Ridge areas, as well as the Nova Woodbridge campus and the Workforce Mobility Center that's right next to the Nova campus. Our Route 1 local route connects the south end of Route 1 right near the Quantico Marine Base to the Woodbridge VRE. Up until January, we had direct service into the Quantico Marine Base, but due to a major increase in security, it made it difficult for our buses to get onto the campus, onto the base and serve the town of Quantico directly. But we have a robust cab shuttle system that we're operating. Right now it's running from the town of Quantico to the nearest local bus stop at Route 1 and Squire Lane. However, next week we have some exciting news that we're actually expanding the service area based on feedback that we received from the citizens. And we're going to allow people to take that cab directly up to the Walmart that's at Route 1 and River Heritage Boulevard. That allows people to have direct access to the retail jobs that are there, and then just to do the shopping, because it is difficult even for deliveries beyond transit to get onto the Quantico Marine Base. So this allows people to get those essential goods that they need, especially during the pandemic, and they'll still have access to the bus system as well. They'll be able to transfer to two buses instead of the one route at Route 1 and Squire Lane. And then we have our Princeville Metro Express. This route operates from the OmniRide Transit Center to Franconia Springfield Metro Station. It operates all day. And along with the other Eastern services, it also operates on Saturdays. The Western service only operates Monday through Friday, but the Eastern service operates Monday through Saturday, including the Princeville Metro Express. And right now, all of our local bus service is free to use. That's for many different things. One is to allow our essential workers to be able to quickly and inexpensively travel to work, as well as protecting our operators too. So we have that minimal transaction taking place at the fare box, and we're not having to worry about handling the cash. So right now, everything is free on our local side, and on our commuter bus side, the passengers can use their smart trips to travel. Next slide, please. One of the things with the Eastern local service that we'll be doing in the future is looking at a full restructure, similar to what we did on the Western side. We're using our lessons learned from there to help define what we're going to do on the Eastern side. We've been working on some drafts, but there will be some significant public outreach that'll be taking place, because we definitely want feedback coming from all different angles as we look at how we could run our service and how we can improve on it and make sure that we're serving the necessary locations, serving the necessary residential locations, and serving our senior population as well. Next slide, please. Our Eastern commuter services are fairly robust. I've broken it down by the commuter lot and area to just better explain how each service is operating. We have our Dale City services that serve the Dale City commuter lot and Horner Road. They go into downtown Washington, the Pentagon, into the Ross and Ballston corridor. From our Lake Ridge area, serving the Lake Ridge commuter lot, the Route 123 lot, and the commuter lot at 123 and I-95, we have service to downtown Washington, Pentagon, and Crystal City. Next slide, please. We also have our South Route 1, Montclair, and Route 234 lot commuter services going into downtown Washington and the Pentagon. And then we have our newest services that just started late last year from the Stafford Borough commuter lot at Route 610 and I-95. Those services go into downtown Washington and the Pentagon. And those routes were funded by Commuter Choice as well. Some of our future commuter services is going to be based on the new Neabsco garage that will be built near the Stonebridge Shopping Center off of Opitz Boulevard across from the Centara Hospital. We'll be looking at what type of restructuring will take place there, both on our commuter side and our local bus side, and looking at better serving the community and finding faster commute times into DC and taking advantage of the enhancements that'll be taking place there as well. And I think that's now Holly's turn.
You're muted, Holly.
Trying to be polite, it gets you nowhere. Okay, there are two TDM programs that I manage at OmniRide. The first is the OmniRide ride sharing program, and it's a free service for the residents of Prince William County. And you can request a ride match through the OmniRide website under the ride sharing tab, and you would fill out a match request form there, or you can go to the Commuter Connections website and fill out an application there. And basically this service is for commuters who are sick of driving alone in traffic. Each applicant that we reply to gets a personalized transit itinerary that includes a list of potential carpool and vanpool prospects, as well as detailed information regarding all of their transportation options to include bus, rail, and metro. Pre-COVID, the vast majority of the requests that we were getting were for commutes from Dumfries to the Pentagon or Manassas to the State Department. And currently, most of our requests are for a more local commute. So for instance, Manassas or Woodbridge to the Target in Fairfax was a request that we got several times. Also Manassas to Fairfax Hospital and Woodbridge to the hospital on Fort Belvoir. We promote this program at transit fairs at employment centers outside of the county, such as the Pentagon, the Mark Center, and the Navy Yard, as well as at more local events, such as the Manassas Farmers Market, and also transit fairs at Prince William County employers, such as the Manassas SciTech campus. As a point of comparison, most counties in Virginia and Maryland have some kind of a rideshare program. Although OmniMatch, our program handles a higher ride match request volume than most of the other jurisdictional programs. And our program also performs very well each year on the Commuter Connections State of the Commute Report as having very high name recognition among Prince William County residents. Next slide. The second program that I manage is the Employer Outreach Program. It is a VDOT funded, grant funded program, and it includes programs such as emergency preparedness, carpool vanpool formation assistance, also telework programs such as promoting Telework VA, which is a state run program, also promoting biking and walking to work, alternative work schedules, parking management, transit subsidies, and last but not least, the implementation of employee commute surveys. And we work with the employers in Prince William County, Manassas, and Manassas Park to create and expand commuter benefits programs there. By working directly with the employers, we can help their staff members improve their quality of life while at work and on the road. The OmniRide Employer Services Program contributes to healthy workforce development in Prince William County by helping companies offer high-value competitive benefits packages that attract and keep top talent. These OmniRide Employer Services are free for all employers in Prince William County, Manassas, and Manassas Park. And Joe, would you go back one slide? For some reason it's on the, yeah, there we go. Thank you. We promote the program through one-on-one meetings with HR. We also do lunch and learn sessions with larger groups. We hold vanpool formation meetings. We go to health and wellness fairs, transit fairs, Earth Day events, and employee benefit fairs. So as an example, I've done the Earth Day event at Lockheed Martin for the last 10 years. I've also gone to Micron to do benefits fairs. I've done a number of transit fairs at the GMU SciTech campus. We've done lobby tabletops at commercial buildings with multiple tenants. And I've also hosted a couple telework webinars this year hosted by the Chamber. Also wanted to mention, Joe mentioned this at the start of the program, but we started an employer council a few years ago, and we meet several times a year. We had a meeting back in early March, but then due to COVID, we haven't been able to meet again. My focus lately has been on getting this council up and running. So now that we've had our first meeting today, I'm hoping to get the next employer council meeting scheduled for Q1 of 2021. And I'll end by saying that we would love to come out to meetings that you're holding with your constituents or customers, employees, and residents to talk about OmniRide and listen to what people want to share with us. We're going to leave up the slide that's at the end with parents and my contact information. So please reach out with any questions you may have or with any future engagement opportunities you may have for us. And we're going to go ahead and turn it over to the Q&A portion of the morning. So I believe, Joe, that now we need to let everyone have the ability to unmute themselves. So feel free, everyone, to unmute and ask a question or to put it in the chat.
Yeah, so I mean, if anyone has any questions like directly pertaining to the presentations that you've just seen there, and then if anyone has anything else general that they want to bring up, because as I said at the beginning, so much of this is at least for this first meeting, is to kind of set the expectation for what we would like this council to become as time goes by. And I think it really becomes kind of, at least in my mind, a community sounding board. As these things go by, we are going to come to you with ideas about how we could potentially change and alter our service. And, as Holly and Perrin mentioned back there, that in their slides, we will be doing an Eastern Service restructure, and there are required public hearings and this, that, and the other built around that. However, this represents a ground floor, right? So this is an opportunity for, if you have a particular, homeowners association that, the bus is not going through there, and potentially that's something that we could look at changing. The best time to get in on that is before the public hearings, because then we can potentially address your issues when everything is, it's very kind of, the very first glimmer of an idea. So, so please don't hold back if anyone has questions. I don't see anything yet here in the chat, but if anyone has any questions, please speak now.
Good morning, this is Delegate Guzman. I would like to first to thank you for organizing, this meeting and having this Hispanic Council. I just want, a follow-up if what we are looking is just to build a better future, or we wanted to also innovate the current services that we have.
I mean, I think probably Perrin could speak to that a little bit, but certainly for me, the answer, Delegate Guzman, is yes. Right. So, we are looking to make the future better, and we're also looking to innovate in the space where we can. Perrin spoke a little bit about our, we were thrown a curveball earlier on in the year with the increased security at Quantico and the necessity to have the D-bids cards, which prevented our buses from serving Quantico, the town of Quantico, and made it even more isolated than it already is. But we have put together a robust cab shuttle program around that in order to get people out to our network of services and places where they can, pick up their mail and packages and this, that, and the other. And we are looking at different ways that we can enhance that, both at Quantico and in other locations. We are looking at making changes to the way we operate our system to potentially work with a TNC, which is a transportation network company, going to be someone like Uber or Lyft. They are much more cost efficient in moving a couple of people around in very specific ways where it doesn't make sense to have a 40-foot bus, or in the case of Quantico, instead of, you only have to have 4 or 5 Uber drivers or Lyft drivers that are pre-screened through D-bids to go in, we would potentially have to have all of our bus operators pre-screened by D-bids to go in. And so that type of flexibility in our service, we hope to be able to bring to bear on the western side of the county as things go further, not just in this pilot that we're currently doing at Quantico. Anything you want to add to that, Perrin or Holly?
Yes, real quick. Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Delegate Guzman. The bus system itself is certainly the backbone of what we operate in the county, and that will continue to be our focus. So as we look at these areas where we can run TNC type services, certainly then the idea is to then take our existing bus network and to look at where we can do frequency increases and serve certain corridors like the Route 1 corridor, the Dale Boulevard corridor, or Old Bridge Road, where we know we have a high density population there and where we can focus our services to run more frequently and more efficiently along those corridors, and then have on the fringes have these opportunities where we could run these other types of services that connect in and really build on the network that we operate.
Thank you for that, because that's actually what, I think representing my constituents with I have on Del Boulevard, I'm being involved in the Woodbridge area as well. This is where I would say the majority of the workforce, low wages workers are. And right now they are due to, and I'm going to be honest here, they cannot be waiting an hour or every 2 hours to go to work. And when it's just not reliable, they go and, there are people that actually does ride for a living that are not credentialed. And I'm just going to put it out there so you guys know, on top of Uber and Lyfting. And I don't see that as a safe option when people are actually still making minimum wage jobs, here in the county. And I would love, to see an increase, and to look at the data. And of course, we're not trying just to put services to put them, but I think that once the Hispanic community see that we have a reliable service that is willing to run at least every 30 minutes like other localities do with a similar density than Woodbridge, Dale City, Manassas, people are going to start riding the bus more. And communications is extremely important. Everything that we could do to make that information available to them in the language that they prefer. And if you need more information on doing outreach, I'm here as a resource. But thank you.
Thank you very much. And one of the things that we are really looking at is the new Neabsco garage going up at Stonebridge and moving our local hub to that location, because the Stonebridge shopping center and the hospital, those are destinations that people need to go to and work. And rather than using the OmniRide Transit Center, which is great from a transit hub perspective, but there's nothing there, moving the hub so they can connect where there is other activity will then allow us to reconfigure these routes, running them more frequently, running them more efficiently, and making it more popular for people to use because there's places for the bus to go to.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with everything Perrin said there. I mean, we are committed to, running our routes with the maximum amount of frequency that we are able to do so. And so certainly as we go by, if we can look at, that's one of the things that, sometimes working with these TNCs can do. I understand your point, Delegate Guzman, but if we can relieve pressure in some areas, then that allows us to potentially add frequency in other areas. And certainly, even with our existing routes, increasing the frequency of those routes to better serve the community. Yeah, I completely understand that you can't wait 1 or 2 hours to take a bus. And in order to do that, we have to be able to have the financial support from the, PRTC stakeholders in order to be able to do that. And certainly having the feedback precisely from councils such as this is what allows us to make the case for those decreases in headway. So that's another reason. Obviously this meeting is recorded. We take note of all these things, and as time goes by, when we do these grant applications and we're applying for funding, one of the major metrics that is looked at is how have you come up with your reasoning that this is needed, right? And is that if you could say, well, okay, well, we consulted with these elected officials, we do have, a civic council where we look at these things and these things have been proposed and people find them to be meritorious, then that enhances the chance that that application is going to be approved. So I thank you for your comments.
Thank you. And the last thing that I would add is, and then I will not say anything else, is that at some point we have to look at to update the number of bus stops too. because like at least in the Dale City area, I could tell you firsthand, you know, I've lived here for, I would say at least in this area for at least 15 years. And the bus stops that we have are the same that we had since 1999. So people actually are walking, you know, 5 blocks, 10 blocks in order to get to the bus stop. So I think that we have a lot of new houses being built. You know, there's more density, but we never innovate the number of bus stops either. And sometimes it's inconvenient, you know, when there are extreme weather, hot or cold, you know, people said, okay, I'm gonna walk 5 blocks to get this bus, or am I going to just go ahead and call an Uber or a Lyft because I cannot walk these distances and it's not safe, you know, either if it's snow or something like that. If that could be taken into consideration, if we look at the last time it was updated and the number of houses that we have built, you know, in the area, and this is for the 3 areas that I explained.
Absolutely. Understood.
All right, any other questions, folks, or comments?
Hi, good morning. This is Yeli from CASA in Virginia. We are a community-based organization. Good morning, Delegate Guzman. It's good to hear your comments. I just had a quick question in regards to the transportation planning. I wanted to know if currently or if you are planning to involve some sort of community representative at the table to help with the planning, or if there is going to be some sort of way to get the community input on that, especially as it comes to, you know, deciding where new bus stops would be.
You want to handle that, Perrin?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for your question. Absolutely. Part of the outreach effort is to reach out to multiple groups and get their feedback on it. You know, certainly when we look internally at routes, we look at what we have currently running and where there's some opportunities to modify service or reallocate our resources to serve different areas in different ways. And absolutely, the public outreach and reaching out to different community groups, working with our commission, working with the county is absolutely important. We want to make sure that whatever we're doing fits in with the county's goals, the small area plans that they're developing, with their strategic plans, and with knowing how the different development patterns are. As Delegate Guzman mentioned, the routes that we've had here have been in place for 20 or more years, and the county has grown, and where people are living and working has changed substantially. And that's with taking what we did on the western side, you know, looking at different ways to focus on downtown Manassas, for example. On the eastern side, we have to focus on what new development patterns are there on the Route 1 corridor, what's happened along Dale Boulevard and Benita Fitzgerald Drive, and all the development that continues to occur, and how can we best serve that, whether it is through your traditional fixed route services or layering in these TNCs to be part of the network and be kind of those extra antennas into those areas. And that's certainly what we want to do, is have that feedback and help the community is what we want to do.
Yeah, and I would certainly hope that, you know, one of the main avenues for that feedback for, you know, the civic organizations, civic representatives would in fact be this council, right? So, you know, certainly this is going to be a place that we are soliciting feedback, and that we are going to, you know, air any plans that we have for restructuring based on that feedback. This is an excellent place to get that information going forward. And then, of course, you know, we do have our robust public hearing schedules and this, that, and the other. And so certainly, you know, there will be many opportunities to participate in whatever changes that may come.
This is Pam Sebesky, the Vice Mayor in the City of Manassas and the Vice Chair of the OmniRide Commission. And I want to thank all of you for putting this together today. These are important conversations. I just wanted to address something that that Delegate Guzman mentioned. The things that she mentioned are all goals of the OmniRide Commission. We've talked about many of these things that she's brought up, but financial constraints have played the biggest part in trying to provide more frequent local bus service, which is needed by our most vulnerable populations. And in most of our communities here in Manassas Park, and the county, they are having to wait that 60 minutes for a bus because of the cost to run these local services when A lot of times there's only a few people on the bus at a time, and you increase that, of course, the more participation would happen, the more frequent we're able to run the buses, but that comes at a cost. So that cost is to the localities and or the state looking really at how that can all be funded and what can be managed. And these difficult times, especially with the coronavirus right now, has made it even more difficult economically for the investment into this. But multimodal transportation is the key. I think we all could agree to helping everybody get around in a more better way for our communities as well as for our environment. So I think that some of this larger conversation has to come at all of our elected levels, but it's going to be very helpful, as previously stated, to have groups like this that can give those feedback to the electeds and really have us continuously looking at how the transportation dollars can be spent so that these services can be offered. And Perrin, you can correct me, I believe that about 70%, and this is prior to COVID, but about 70% of the cost for bus service is managed through local, state, and federal funding. The ridership only pays for about 30% of it. So this is, I think, valued by many in the community, but it unfortunately does always come back to the money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor Sebeski. That's certainly on the local side, those numbers for the breakdown are 100% accurate. And I mean, and that's ultimately, you know, one of the things that we're trying to get at here. We are looking to move, you know, OmniRide from being a pure, you know, bus company through and through to a more modern, potentially flexible environment, you know, where we don't know how sticky this telecommuting thing is going to end up being. You know, are 100% of the people pre-COVID going to be, you know, going back to work? Yeah, probably not. You know, so we, through our, you know, our OmniRide employer outreach and our ride sharing aspects of our program, look to serve those people where we can have smart relationships with TNCs that free up that extremely valuable, you know, those local dollars to potentially be able to increase headways in other places. I mean, decrease headways rather, increase those frequencies of stops, you know, so that along places like Dale Boulevard, we do have, you know, that higher frequency, which will spur that riding. You know, we have to try and make sure we're using all of our tools in our toolkit to do that, especially because one of the tools that we're not going to have in our toolkit is likely to be an avalanche of supplementary funding, right? So in the absence of that, then, you know, we do have to be smart in that regard. But that's certainly what we're looking to do. These councils are meant to be our way to you know, to kind of garner that public feedback in maybe a slightly less you know, formal way than you know, a public hearing or coming to a commissioners meeting and, you know, using up public comment time or something like that, both of which are still excellent ways of doing things. But, you know, just to give you an example, at the most recent you know, Vanpool Council meeting, I spoke for probably, you know, 10 minutes, right? And then everybody speaks amongst themselves, right? Yes, you can avail yourself of the subject matter experts that are on the phone, like Holly, like Perrin, but this is an opportunity to kind of have, you know, a candid discussion between the civic organizations and then some of our, you know, elected officials that are on the call today, or whatever going forward. So it really is meant to be your council, and we are here to make it, you know, what it needs to be to serve the community. Obviously, certainly leading it at first. You know, we do understand that there's a lot of water carrying that has to go on at first in terms of, you know, setting agendas and this, that, and the other. But, you know, ultimately, we hope you'll bear with us, and you know, this can grow into something that has utility for everybody in our service area.
Well, and the other thing I'd like to add too, real quick, Joe, is, you know, certainly as we see what happens post-pandemic, as people take their vaccines and what the work environment looks like. As more people do stay home and stay in the county, that's going to change the balance of what the ridership demands are. Certainly a substantial population left the county, and that was also representative in our ridership. 70 to 75% of our ridership was commuter. Now it's really shifted. Even right now, we're only at 25% of our normal commuter ridership, but our local ridership is at 65%. So if that continues to shift in that direction, that allows us to look at what resources could potentially be moved around and then focus more on the local service area and address some of these other issues that we have.
Absolutely. Holly, did you have some things that you wanted to raise in terms of potential discussion topics, or?
I do. I just wanted to make sure nobody else had anything that they wanted to ask. We still got folks. I saw you unmute yourself. Do you have?
I did. Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the presentation. Really appreciate setting up this council. And Natasha, thank you for all of the emails back and forth with the presentation in Spanish. I did get it, so thank you. I like the fact that you're talking about, setting up meetings in the communities, and we definitely will be in touch with you to take care of doing that for as Georgetown South loves seeing that appear on the slides because that keeps that front and center. But we have several communities that, we would probably want to set up a visit with. Can you tell me how that looks when you go, just quickly, don't have to go into a whole lot of detail, but how when you're setting up meetings, you're doing them now, I'm guessing, in this COVID environment. So kind of talk to me a little bit about how, with interpretation and if live and, Zoom, how would that kind of look?
Yeah, you know what, I'll answer as best I can, and then I'm hoping that some folks will jump in. I'm thinking in the short term, it's gonna have to be some kind of a virtual thing like we're doing today. And this is something that came up in regards to even today's call, is what the interpretations needs were going to be. And we've come up with a technology solution that's going to allow us to have simultaneous translation services. We just weren't able to pull it together for today. And it was fortunate that we didn't think we were going to need it for today, but figured that it would be something we were going to need for the future. So we've been working with Suzanne, and that's something that she would be able to help us with. And how it exactly works, I can't tell you. Maybe Joe will step in here, because I spoke to our IT director about that. So Joe, I'll turn it over to you.
So there is, we were anxious to try and avoid the potentially fragmented nature of, Holly does a slide and then it's translated live in Spanish and everything's very fragmented. And we also looked at the idea of, whilst we've disseminated a presentation in Spanish, potentially having them both on the screen at the same time. But we discovered that made for a terrible experience for everybody, both English and Spanish speakers. So there is functionality that exists within the Zoom module for someone to simply select a different audio track. Where if we have, Suzanne basically live translating, which is a skill that she possesses, whoever is talking, you can simply, in logging into Zoom, you would simply select a different audio track, just like you do in Netflix or something like that, where you go and put on, subtitles, or you choose German for whatever reason you might need to do that. We can certainly, that's what we will be doing going forward. It's just functionality within the system that, number one, we didn't know existed until kind of like the end of last week. And it takes multiple days to actually update your subscription within their system so that functionality then exists. But it's certainly, from what I have seen of it, of how it is implemented, is done, extremely well and extremely seamlessly, and allows that kind of that side-by-side seamless nature to continue. Obviously also, this is being recorded. There is the possibility of us producing a dubbed version of that if necessary. And we're also going to be capturing what comments are in the chat. And it is also possible that we could make that available in Spanish as well. So hopefully for the actual events on the day, next time we have one of these, it will be available in a completely seamless one-click fashion. And then, once, hopefully in the very near future, but if not, then just the future, we are able to go back to having it in person. Suzanne is somewhat of a Swiss Army knife and apparently is more than capable of doing it live and in person as well. So, she's lots of tools in her toolkit, and we are thankful for her.
Well, thank you, Joe. I just wanted to add that since March, I've been interpreting simultaneously, consecutively, and site translation through the Zoom platform for the Maryland Judiciary and Virginia State Courts using that Zoom capability. So it's out there. It's been a very good experience thus far, and I'm looking forward to continuing to serve.
Thanks, Suzanne. I'll take this opportunity to also follow up and say that any materials for today's meeting are going to be on the OmniRide website, and we will send you all the information with a link to exactly where you'll be able to find that information. So if we do end up dubbing the call, that will be there. The recording of today's call will be there. All the presentations in English and Spanish will be there so that you'll be able to access that after the fact.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know that I saw Rick take himself off mute a couple times. Rick, do you still have a question for us? Okay, maybe not. If you do later, we're here for another, for some more minutes. So unmute yourself and ask. I do have a couple questions though that I was hoping that we could put out to the group. So anyone that wants to answer, has some feedback, please unmute and let us know. Our intent was to hold 2 council meetings a year moving forward. Is that enough meetings, do you think? If anyone has any feedback on that, as well as content that you'd like to hear from us moving forward. And I'll use the Vanpool councils as an example there. We usually do 2 of those a year, and we'll have people, for instance, from the Pentagon or the Mark Center come and talk about vanpooling opportunities at those locations. Shortly after COVID, we had some folks from the Pentagon come and talk about what going back to work looked like there, so that the vanpool owner operators that we work with knew what the opportunities were looking like at the Pentagon and what going back to work was going to look like, so that they could plan their own kind of what they were going to be doing. And so if there are topics that you have that you'd like to hear us talk about this year, what might those be?
Yeah, and this is also for, obviously Holly and Perrin's email addresses are on the screen. So if anyone is reticent to speak up now, then, certainly feel free to contact them afterwards. But certainly with the Vanpool Council, a lot of the people that come to it are, either people who are just interested in transportation in the region or are actually vanpool providers. The schedules that we have put together, the agendas for that meeting, tend to be kind of part business opportunity, people coming and talking about, parking issues that they have and how vanpool companies could potentially solve those. And then sometimes we have people from the state come in and talk about, oh, well, this junction on 66 is going to be closed. Here's how the hot lanes are being constructed, things that would, that would impact, their businesses. So if there are, things that you guys think would directly impact, the Hispanic community specifically, certainly we can look at adding those as agenda items, and we would, the more notice you can give us on those, the better, because everyone has busy schedules.
Good morning, Holly. And
Hi, Raymond.
Yeah, I've decided till the end here. You stole my thunder about my one question was going to be, as you know me, I always say, where's the material? 2 council meetings a year at this time sound good, because as mentioned by Perrin and Joe and all, we don't know for transit. We don't know. I'll just leave it at that, because then you can fill in the blank. But a topic and content possibly for the next meeting. The county's got its advisory equity thing committee started. The city of Manassas has their equity committee, which hopefully will also, as they're forming their thing, be looking at the comprehensive plan, Vice Mayor, and making adjustments accordingly. And one aspect of that, of course, is the transportation. So possibly for the next meeting, I'm not sure what Manassas Park is doing, but possibly for the next meeting, have not the government staff person speak, but possibly the chairperson or a member of those equity committees speak. Because that will give you all at OmniRide an idea of some of the thinking as they develop their strategic plan and do their root cause analysis and all that good stuff, as to possibly what this council and the van pool and the employer and all the other things would fit together. And by the way, my compliments for the excellent flyers you put out. I had them on Facebook. I prodded a few people, particularly a councilman-elect who lives in Georgetown South, to spread the word. Senate, of course, the commission, on everybody I could think of. Compliments to, I hate saying this, but compliments to Prince William County government. They advertised it. My city, I didn't see it anywhere. So that's one of those things that at the elected level that Vice Mayor Sebeski mentioned, my vice mayor and my mayor-elect, that's one of those things that they should look at to include our friends in Manassas Park. And now I'll be quiet. But again, thank you for this.
Thank you.
And that's good feedback. I think that's something that we're hoping we can learn from this is, who we need to be reaching out to so that they can extend that to their constituency. And we don't know what we don't know, but we're learning, we're getting there. And this is a first step in that. And we're so pleased that so many folks joined us. And I think we're going to get better from here.
Absolutely.
Just like anything, it takes a little time to gain some traction. So we're hoping that this helps spread the word out.
Well, you got me in your corner as an advocate, so that'll help.
Good morning.
Sorry, I heard someone.
Good morning. This is Rick Canizales. I'm director. Good morning.
You're breaking up, Rick. We can hear you, but it's a bad line.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm on a phone line, so my apologies. But I just want to. I'm Rick Canizales, director of transportation for Prince William County, and I just want you guys to know you have my full support in anything we can assist with, especially as we're going through our comprehensive plan update and project planning. Please get us in tune, and we'd love to talk all about this. So you have our full support and assistance.
Thanks, Rick. I have to say that one of the first people I reached out to was Paolo on your staff, and he's great. He got it out immediately, and I know you guys did a lot with social media to help us out, and we appreciate that. All right, well, we're getting close to the hour, everyone. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. There are a few more questions that I wanted to ask to kind of get a little bit more information for us to help us do a better job moving forward. So I think we'll follow up with an email to you all, maybe even a survey to get the answers to some questions. But this has been a really great call, and all due to you and the fact that so many of you joined and participated. We really appreciate it. Joe and Perrin, anything you want to wrap up with?
No, not really, other than just echoing the thanks. I appreciate everybody's time, the effort that's gone into it, our elected representatives that have joined us on the call today, and everybody else as well. Thank you very much. And hopefully, I think this was a very good meeting, and this will hopefully be the lowest ebb. So everything's better from here. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful holidays.
Yep.
Wear a mask, wash your hands.
Yes, indeed.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.